Something in you already knew today would be different before you opened this video. Before your thumb even paused mid-scroll. Something deep inside you, older than your circumstances. Something that has been waiting a long while, stirred. You felt it. Don't dismiss it as random. Don't call it coincidence. That stirring had a source, and it wasn't chance. Your attention slowed right at this moment on this exact day because something needed to be said, and it needed you listening. I know what drew you here. You saw certain words, you saw a promise, and something in you, the part that has refused to stop hoping no matter how many times life told it to quit, leaned forward and thought, what if this is actually real? What if this is actually meant for me? Before we go any further, hear this clearly. It is real, and it is for you. There is a key being placed into your hands today. Not a metaphor, not a comforting phrase meant to make you feel good for 20 minutes before you close this video and slide back into the same striving, the same waiting, the same silence. A real key. Spiritual in nature, but every bit as real and functional as the one that opens your own front door. And this key opens something that has been sealed shut in your life for longer than you'd like to admit. You saw a phrase like, open now, and something in your chest tightened, didn't it? Because you already knew, you've known for a long time, that there's a door. Maybe it's the door to a relationship you've grieved quietly. Maybe it's the door to a dream you buried so deep you nearly convinced yourself it was never really yours to begin with. Maybe it's the door to your own healing, your own peace, your own sense that you're not failing at this thing called life. Whatever that door is, hear this. The point here isn't to talk about the door. It's to open it now, not next season, not after one more test now. Stay with this a little longer. Because there's more how this key came to be, and what happens the moment it's actually received. Understand something about how meaning tends to land in a life like yours. It doesn't scatter carelessly, hoping to land somewhere useful. It arrives with precision, like an arrow released by someone who already measured the wind, already calculated the distance, already knew the target before the bow was ever drawn. You are that target today. Not someone watching 5 minutes from now. Not someone who finds this next week. You right now, in whatever room you're sitting in, carrying whatever weight is on your chest, circling whatever question has kept you up at 3 in the morning. You didn't stumble onto this by accident. Something whispered, watch this one, while you scrolled past 100 other things. That whisper wasn't random. It was drawing you toward this exact hour because something has been held ready, waiting for the moment you were finally still enough to actually receive it. Say it if you're able to, even quietly. I am ready to receive. Because receiving is a different posture than striving. For a long time now, there's been striving, reaching, grasping, trying to force doors open with your own strength, your own hands, fingers worn raw from clawing at circumstances that wouldn't budge no matter how hard you pulled. The invitation here isn't to keep pulling, it's to receive. If your spirit is genuinely saying yes to that invitation, let that be true for you in whatever way feels honest. Spoken aloud, written down, simply felt. There is real power in declaration, in the act of putting into words what your spirit has already quietly decided. Silence has cost a lot of people ground they could have claimed simply by speaking their belief out loud. Don't let silence cost you that today. Now about the key itself. Long ago, in a wilderness wider than most people's understanding of loneliness, there was a man named Moses. See him the way he actually was, not the confident deliverer often pictured in retellings, but a tired man. Someone who had run from his own past, who had traded the comforts of a royal court for the backside of a desert, tending sheep that weren't even his own. married into a family that wasn't his own, living a life that felt like permanent exile from anything that mattered. 40 years he spent out there. 40 years of ordinary days. 40 years of a life gone quiet in the worst possible way. Not restful quiet, but forgotten quiet. The quiet of someone who has simply stopped expecting anything to change. Does that sound familiar? Have your own years started to feel like his years? Have you stopped measuring your life by dreams and started measuring it by routines instead? Wake up, work, manage, survive, sleep, repeat. And somewhere in that repetition, did the part of you that used to believe in more start dimming down to an ember you nearly forgot was still lit? None of that time in the wilderness was wasted or overlooked. Every single day spent tending those sheep, learning the terrain, learning where the water was, learning the mountain paths. Every one of those days was quietly preparing him for something he had no way of knowing was coming. He couldn't have known it. From where he stood, it looked like nothing. It looked like a wasted life at the edge of nowhere. Then, on an ordinary day like the 10,000 before it, Moses noticed something strange. A bush burning, but never consumed. Fire that didn't destroy what it touched. And when he turned aside to look closer, when he chose to pause his routine and pay attention to something unusual, he was spoken to directly. "Moses, Moses," and he answered, "Here I am." The same question is being asked of you today. Will you turn aside? Will you pause the routine long enough to notice what's already burning in your own life right now that should have consumed you and somehow didn't? The debt that should have crushed you and you're still standing. The diagnosis that should have ended your peace and somehow your peace held anyway. The betrayal that should have hardened your heart into something bitter, and somehow you still have love left to give. That isn't survival by coincidence. That's a burning bush, a presence announcing itself in the middle of your ordinary day, waiting to see if you'll turn aside and actually look. At that bush, Moses was given a key, not a physical object, a name. I am who I am. That name became the key that unlocked everything that followed, every confrontation, every miracle in the wilderness, all of it. It all traced back to that single moment at the bush when Moses stopped, turned aside, and received what was being given to him. That's the same key being placed into your hands today. Not information, not a formula, presence. A name spoken directly into your specific situation. Whatever this season requires, provider, healer, comforter, restorer of years, the difficulty has eaten away. That is exactly what's being offered. You aren't being asked to figure out the mechanics of how your breakthrough happens. You're being asked to receive that presence into the center of your circumstance. The way Moses received a name into the center of an assignment that looked completely impossible from where he stood. That's the key. Opening the door means this: stop waiting for circumstances to shift before you believe anything. Receive first. The shifting follows the receiving. It has always worked that way, and it isn't going to stop working that way now. There's a question sitting quietly underneath whatever doubt you're carrying right now. One you probably haven't said out loud to anyone. What if I receive this and nothing changes? Let me answer that honestly, because it deserves an honest answer, not empty reassurance. Real change like this doesn't usually work like flipping a switch. Sometimes what shifts first isn't the outside circumstance at all. It's something internal, a settledness, a strange, quiet confidence that doesn't match the situation on paper but shows up anyway. That inward shift is not nothing. Even on the days it's the only thing that's changed. It's often the very thing that precedes an outward change. Nobody can fully explain later. Is there someone you've been aching for? A child who's gone silent? A parent who shut a door, a friend who walked away without ever explaining why. If so, hear this clearly. Presence entering the space you cannot reach. Doing work you cannot force or control, on a timeline you don't get to dictate. That possibility is not reserved for someone else's story. It's available in whatever situation you're actually facing right now. If you're holding on to hope for a reunion, a restoration, a reconciliation that feels genuinely impossible from where you're sitting, let that hope be real and spoken even quietly to yourself. There's a difference between merely wishing for something and actually declaring belief in it. And that difference matters more than it might seem. Let that be a marker in time, a point you can look back to later and say, "That's when I planted my flag in faith." Now, something worth naming plainly. The reason a breakthrough has felt delayed isn't because it's being withheld. It's because there's been a quiet, ongoing resistance working against belief itself in ways that haven't been fully named yet. This deserves to be exposed clearly without softening it, because it's hard to fight something you refuse to look at directly. That resistance rarely shows up as one dramatic attack. It works through erosion, slow, patient, quiet erosion of the belief that things can actually change. It rarely comes as a single devastating blow. It comes as 1,000 small discouragements, stacked one on top of another, until someone wakes up one day and realizes they've simply stopped expecting good things. That gets relabeled as being realistic. That numbness gets relabeled as maturity. Hear this clearly, that numbness isn't maturity. It's a wound, quietly inflicted over years. And today it's being named, and its grip is being broken. The lie sounds like this: you waited too long. The door closed while you were distracted with survival, with responsibility, with simply getting through each day. Other people get their breakthroughs, but somehow you're the exception, somehow overlooked. That has always been a lie, and the proof stands directly in the story of a man who spent 40 years in obscurity before ever being called by name at a burning bush. 40 years and not 40 days. And the calling wasn't late. It arrived exactly on time. Doubt rarely shows up generically. It tends to know exactly which memory to surface at exactly which moment, to make you question whether any of this is really meant for you, or whether you're once again hoping for something that will slip through your fingers the way other hopes have before. Maybe there's a memory of believing for something once, and it not coming the way you expected. Maybe there's a quiet suspicion that prayer is just words spoken into an empty room. Those doubts have real teeth, and the specific disappointments behind them deserve to be taken seriously. But there's an important difference between disappointment and abandonment. Disappointment has been real. Abandonment never has been. Presence has remained through every moment that felt silent, working in ways that weren't visible at the time, the same way it worked quietly through those 40 wilderness years before anyone could see the point of them. Here's something worth planting your feet on, because feelings shift, but this doesn't. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him and he shall direct your paths. Read that slower. Trust in the Lord, not in personal strategies, not in the 5-year plan that didn't work out the way it was drawn up, not in the version of control that's been white-knuckled for years because letting go felt too dangerous. Trust with all your heart, not the cautious 70% kept in reserve in case of disappointment, but all of it. Lean not on your own understanding, because understanding is always limited to what can be seen, and what can be seen is never the full picture. There's a whole board in play. Most people can only see one square of it. In all your ways acknowledge, not just in the spiritually charged moments, not just on quiet Sunday mornings, but on the ordinary Tuesday afternoon at a desk with no clear next step, in the argument with a spouse at 10 at night, standing in a grocery aisle doing math that doesn't quite add up. Acknowledge there too, and then the promise, he shall direct your paths. Not maybe, not conditional on flawless performance. A certainty, not a possibility. Say this out loud wherever you are. I trust you even when I don't understand. Say it even if your voice shakes. Say it even if part of you doesn't fully believe it yet. Faith was never the absence of doubt. Faith is choosing to speak truth louder than the doubt sitting next to it. There's more ahead, and it involves water. A wall of impossibility that looked, by every natural measure, completely unmovable. But first, sit for a moment with what's already been uncovered here, because it deserves to settle rather than be rushed past. Something in you knew today would be different. The key being placed in your hands isn't a technique or a formula. It's presence itself, entering the exact shape of whatever you actually need. There's the story of a man who waited 40 years before ever being spoken to at a burning bush, and the calling still arrived exactly on time, whatever small. Cautious hope is starting to rise after years of being buried under disappointment. Don't push it back down. Don't talk yourself out of it the way hope has been talked down so many times before. Let it rise. There's a specific thought that tends to surface right about now, and it's worth naming before it arrives. This message is nice, but it's generic. It wasn't really written for you. Someone else watching this will get their breakthrough, but not you. Recognize that thought the instant it shows up, because it isn't random. It's designed specifically to create distance from whatever is genuinely stirring right now. The truth runs opposite to that whisper. Words like these aren't sent out generically, hoping to accidentally land somewhere useful. Don't let a lie dressed up as humility quietly take something that was meant to reach you. There's something else sitting quietly underneath the surface for some of you. Not everyone here is wrestling with a friendship or a distant dream. Some of you are wrestling with your marriage, lying in bed at night next to someone you've loved for years, watching the distance between you grow wider until you no longer know how to close it. You may have already started rehearsing what life looks like on the other side of a divorce you never actually wanted. Because some nights that feels more realistic than believing in restoration. That is seen clearly, exactly where it is. And there is more to say about that, about what real restoration in a marriage can look like. But first, there's a story involving water and an entire nation standing at the edge of an ocean with an army behind them and no visible way forward. What happened there speaks directly into whatever wall currently looks unmovable from where you're standing right now. Picture the scene. 600,000 men, not even counting women and children, an entire nation recently freed from 400 years of slavery, walking into a wilderness with nothing but a promise, and a pillar of cloud by day and fire by night leading them forward. Ahead of them, the Red Sea. Behind them, dust rising in the distance, Pharaoh's army, chariots, soldiers closing in to drag them back into bondage or worse. No bridge existed. No boat could carry a nation across that water fast enough. By every visible measure, they were trapped. Water in front, an army behind, no way out. Notice something about that moment, because it matters here too. The people panicked. They cried out, and some of them even said it would have been better to die as slaves in Egypt than to die free in the wilderness. Hear the tragedy in that statement. They had already decided their situation was hopeless, even while the same power that had delivered them through 9 plagues was standing right there with them, still fully present, still fully able. How many times has that same thing happened, looking at the water in front and the army behind? and quietly concluding that this must simply be where the story ends. How many times has "it would be easier to just go back" turned into settling for less than what was actually promised, simply because the promise looked impossible from where you stood? The instruction given in that moment was simple: stop crying out, tell the people to move forward. And then something happened that had never been done before in exactly that way. A hand stretched out over the water, and the sea split. Walls of water stood on the right and the left, and dry ground opened up through the middle of what should have been an impassable barrier. An entire nation walked through on dry land, while the army pursuing them was left behind in the very water that had once seemed to seal their fate. This is the real picture. Behind "Open Now," it isn't a metaphor about mindset. It's a declaration about the possibility of a way opening through the exact obstacle that everyone around you, maybe even you yourself, has already labeled impossible. The sea didn't open gradually over months of negotiation. It opened the moment the hand was stretched out. What stands between where you are and where you're going isn't a lack of power on the other end. It's often the moment of moving forward while the water is still standing. There's something else easy to miss in that story. The sea didn't part before people started walking. Some tellings make it sound like everyone waited safely on the shore until the water was fully divided and the ground fully dry. But it actually required the front of that line to step toward water that hadn't moved yet. Faith isn't waiting until the way is fully visible before taking a step. Faith is stepping toward the water because the instruction was to move forward, trusting that the parting happens in the process of that obedience, not always before it. Is there something you've been waiting to become fully clear before taking the next step? Move. Move toward the door you've been afraid to walk through. Move toward the conversation you've been avoiding. Move toward the decision, the appointment, the difficult next step. A sea doesn't part for people standing still on the shore, wishing the water would move on its own. It parts for people who take the instructions seriously enough to walk toward what still looks impossible. What's standing in front of you right now? Is it a wall that looks too thick to break? A situation that stayed unchanged for so long, you've forgotten what it feels like without that particular weight. Consider a marriage strained past the point either person knows how to repair. Two people living like strangers, sharing a hallway, passing each other without meeting eyes. Years of counseling and quiet, late-night conversations and personal changes attempted. None of it enough to close the distance that kept growing anyway. Consider the moment divorce papers might sit on a kitchen counter, and the person facing them collapses somewhere private, crying until their chest feels hollow, with no eloquent prayer left in them, just a raw, exhausted, "I cannot carry this. I cannot open this door. I cannot close this door. I'm completely stuck." In moments like that, sometimes what shifts first isn't the other person's behavior. It's the decision to stop trying to plan the next conversation. Stop trying to force someone else's feelings to change, and instead choose to rest in a peace that isn't dependent on controlling the outcome. That shift, quiet and internal as it is not nothing. It is very often where real change actually begins, not because it forces someone else's hand, but because it changes the entire posture a person carries into whatever happens next. In the kitchen where hard decisions sit unmade, presence remains. In the empty room where tears fall, presence remains. Let real strength quietly return without needing to announce itself loudly. Think of a business built over 30 years by two lifelong friends, starting in a garage repairing small engines, growing into something that eventually employed dozens of people. Two men who had stood at each other's weddings and buried parents together. Then betrayal, slow and systematic, funds diverted, trust broken, a friendship of decades gone in what felt like an instant, leaving behind debt, lawsuits, and the very real threat of losing everything built over an entire lifetime. In situations like that, the poison isn't usually the betrayal itself. It's the anger that keeps replaying afterward, night after night, corroding sleep, corroding health, corroding the very person carrying it, while the person who caused the harm is nowhere near feeling any of that same weight. At some point, the only way forward is recognizing that continued rage doesn't punish the person who caused the harm. It only continues destroying the person still carrying it. Letting go of the right to be endlessly consumed by someone else's wrongdoing is not the same as excusing what happened. It's simply refusing to let it keep collecting a toll on your own body and mind indefinitely. That release, however hard-won, is often followed by something unexpected. Physical relief, a steadier heart rate, an ability to sit quietly with a cup of coffee again and feel something like normal life returning, even while the external legal or practical mess is still being sorted out. The old wound doesn't have to be fully resolved externally before that internal peace becomes possible. There's a passage worth anchoring to here. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. Old things have passed away. The old betrayal, the old silence, the old distance in whatever relationship has grown cold. Not some things. All things being made new. This is the deeper layer behind open now. It was never just about opening one door in the current version of your life. It's about an entirely different vantage point. One where old limitations stop defining what's possible, because the old version of you, defined only by what you could survive on your own strength, doesn't have to be the final version of who you are. You are allowed to claim a new identity today. Don't let old worn-out labels keep speaking over you. Abandoned, defeated, not enough. None of those names were ever the real one. The real name carries choice, belonging, and purpose. As this moment closes, remember what was said at the start about the key. You've received it. You can feel its weight even now. Whatever door needed opening, whatever water needed parting, whatever wall needed to come down, none of that requires going back to the old way of living, the constant striving, the quiet desperation that used to keep you up at 2 in the morning. Let the noise of the world fade for a moment. Let the questions go quiet. Something has been planted here. Now let it grow in its own time, without being rushed.